David Kong, CEO of Best Western Hotels and Resorts. So good to have you on today. Thank you for joining us. I want to start with where things stand from a broader perspective. We're a month into this crisis here in the U.S., but of course you've got global operations, so you've been dealing with this longer than those of us here in the U.S. have. How big of a hit has Best Western taken as it stands right now?
It's a unprecedented type of a hit. We have never seen this kind of devastation in the industry. You know, previously, back in 2009, the industry declined by 16%, and that was unprecedented at that time. But right now, our revenue is off by almost 90%. So it's extremely difficult time, and many of the hotels worldwide are closed right now, and many of them are doing very poorly, and many of them are thinking about closing as well. So it's a total devastation. It's very difficult.
90%, that's a significant hit. What percent of your hotels are currently closed right now? And what are you doing to make sure you can keep some of those employees on your payroll?
Yeah, many of the hotels worldwide are closed, not by their own sole choosing, but government directives and whatnot. It's and there is no business, so it doesn't make sense for them to be open. In North America, where we have about 2,500 hotels, we have about 300 that's closed right now in North America, but more and more hotels are thinking about closing. And there are more and more cities and states that have stay-at-home or other restrictions, so they're forcing hotels to close.
And what has it meant from an employment perspective? I know a lot of these owners of your hotels, these are small businesses as well. What have you heard in terms of how many people have had to be laid off?
Oh, a lot. If the hotel is closed, then those employees are laid off. And thankfully, we have the CARES Act that was passed by Congress. That's going to help because the hotels that are open will get some relief and will give them incentive to hire people back. Although I would be quick to add that the amount of loan that's available is not very high. It's 2.5 times the payroll cost, and it has certain restricted usage. And so if you think about the expenses at a hotel, whether it be the debt service or insurance or real estate taxes, those things are not considered. And therefore, it's some relief, but not enough.
How far does that get you, though, when we talk about what's set aside in that rescue bill, rescue package? Are we talking a month of the current operations? Are we talking 2 months? Can you give us any specifics on that?
It's 2.5 times of the payroll cost. And so it's not going to go very far. And I was fortunate to be on a call with Senator Marco Rubio yesterday, and he talked about this is intended to tide us over. And they're already thinking about the fourth relief package. And he recognized that it's not enough money. At the same time, we all recognize that it's not intended to replace our lost revenue or lost profit. We all recognize that. It's a relief to tide us over, but he does recognize it's not enough. And he's trying to help with the fourth package.
We've heard the White House say repeatedly there are phases of stimulus that are coming. You talk about the conversation you've had with Senator Rubio. What specifically would you like to see in this next phase as it relates to the hotel industry?
Well, first of all, I think the amount made available to us needs to be increased significantly to cover the debt service and real estate taxes and insurance and all the things that the hotel owner has to find a way to pay.
How much specifically do you see when you say significantly?
We asked Senator Rubio if he would consider 4 times the payroll cost for us to just pay the essential bills that we need to pay.
And what conversations have you had with the White House? I know you were in that meeting with President Trump several weeks ago. Have you had any follow-up conversations with the president or the vice president?
Not with the president or vice president. We did have conversations with the Treasury Department. Yesterday, we were on a call with the Deputy Secretary of Treasury and Mr. Mucinich, and he was very helpful, although, as we can all imagine, they have to come up with the guidelines, and it's really hard to create this because this is totally unprecedented, and it's difficult for them to write the guidelines properly, so it's taken a little bit of time. But for as long as they are taking, that's the time that our hotel owners don't have in making ends meet. So they recognize it's urgent, and they recognize it's complex, and they are trying to do the best they can, and we appreciate that effort.
Let's talk about what the hotel industry has done to try and help with this effort to combat the virus. I know a lot of hotels here in the U.S., especially in New York City, have offered up their space for hospital workers and others who are looking to quarantine away from their families as well. What conversations have you had directly with the federal or local government to use some of the Best Western facilities as an alternative space?
We haven't had those direct conversations with the states or various municipalities because it's really an action that the hotel owners and operators need to take themselves. It's a decision they need to make. We did provide very thorough protocols that they should consider, like how they should clean a room and, for example, if there's a healthcare worker staying at the hotel, maybe they don't need to clean the room daily, and those workers can simply put their linen in a bag, and we can take it to laundry and clean it for them. And so there are precautionary steps that we can take to safeguard everyone's good health, and we've done that, but I also want to take this opportunity to thank the many healthcare workers that are putting their lives at risk and their families at risk to help us, as well the first responders. You think about the law enforcement and EMT and firefighters and the like. A lot of these people are putting their lives at risk, and we're so grateful for their service.
And finally, David, I've heard some pretty grim predictions for the hotel industry over the last few weeks. Millions of jobs that are likely going to be lost coming out of this. I heard the CEO of the AHLA say that he thinks 50% of the hotels may not survive. As you look at the broader landscape right now, what do you see on the other end?
I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge in terms of recovery. And Senator Rubio recognized it as well. He said what I wanted to say, which is for us to recover, you have to overcome this consumer confidence challenge. And it's going to depend a great deal on how the virus pans out going forward. And if we can find a cure for it, I'm optimistic that we would find a cure for it soon. At some point in the future, we need a vaccine so people feel comfortable about traveling. This virus is going to forever change our lives. And it's about finding a new normal and what we need to do to make sure people are comfortable traveling again and staying in the hotels again. And as well, because there's so many layoffs right now, people have to feel good about their job security, and companies have to feel good about the confidence going into the future. So there are a lot of factors to consider.
But that 50% loss, is that a realistic number to you?
I can begin to do a forecast on that. It so much depends on how long this crisis continues.
Okay, David, I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much.